What is up, Scrub fan? We are here today with a classic segment. This is Leveling Up with Jose Mercado. Today we're going to be talking about his experience at Vegas between the regional and ToP. We're also going to be having Pat as well, being able to chime in with his insights from the event, the format, etc. And also, of course, Jose taking a deep dive into Green Yellow Jiren, what made him decide to play the deck, his matches, and things like that. So I'm certain that you guys will have plenty of takeaways along the way. So before we get started, let me give a shout out to our sponsor, Alec Pastrana. Beard Collectibles, best shop owner on the planet. If you haven't got your sealed product for Series 9, make sure you do so. And then, of course, we have Draft Box 5. The hype is real around that product, so make sure you get your hands on it. So let's go straight into the interview with Jose.
All right, and we are here today discussing ToP, not only from our perspective, mine and Pat's talking about the format itself, but really want to take a closer look in at Jose's experience with the tournament and figure out how his day was, his deck decision, and things like that. Because, of course, everyone's really hyped to figure out why he was able to take Green Yellow Jiren and bring it to such success, especially when people thought the deck was a meme. So before we get started in that, like, Pat, Jose, we'll start with Pat. How was your experience in Vegas, both like personally and then, also in regards to the tournament?
Well, personally, Vegas is one of the strangest places I've ever been, but I had a lot of fun. But as far as the tournament, I think it was ran obviously really well. But I think the thing that surprised me the most about the tournament, and I guess it's because there was a big cash prize on the line, but like the format wasn't as varied at ToP as it was at the regional. I think that the regional is a better representation of where the meta goes from here. So overall, there's a lot more stuff I think that's viable than what you guys see at ToP.
Of course. And Jose, of course, I imagine your answer is going to be a little bit more in depth since you were actually playing in the tournament. So how was Vegas for you, both personally and in regards to the tournament?
Vegas was what I want Dragon Ball to be. I think this tournament, this weekend was the biggest that Dragon Ball Super can be, right? So we had so many players together in one city, so many events happening at the same time, Going into detail, so the regional, we had a lot of people throughout the 9 rounds that we had, or 7 rounds. I can't remember how many rounds we had. It was a long day. I saw from meta decks, road decks. There was so many things. I have to echo what Pat is saying, that the regional is actually going to be a more representative of what the format could become. Instead of what ToP was, right? ToP, you have a higher competitive ceiling, which means that people are going to focus on a more narrow selection of decks, which that will bring us into into the conversation why we went into Jiren, because yes, Jiren is not a meme. It's a very versatile deck that has really good matchups, all around. It's got only like one bad matchup, So
yeah.
So I guess we'll just go ahead and dive right into that. So Jose, and then Pat, you can chime in as well where you feel necessary. Jose, what drew you or caused you to play Green Yellow Jiren for the tournament?
So to be transparent, I was actually considering going with Piccolo before the tournament. I was focusing on a green-blue version. We're doing mostly hand destruction, and I saw through the grapevine that a lot of people were into different versions of Piccolo, and the Piccolo style is very against who I am. I like to go fast. I want to be the sword. I want to control my fate. I want to win or lose on turn 3. I want to have time to have life.
It's the opposite. I'm more of the meta, projected meta feels like it favors somebody of my playstyle, not Jose's playstyle. So Piccolo just did not. I mean, we talked about it. Piccolo just did not feel like the right choice for him. The reason why I think Jiren was the correct choice for the weekend is because its only truly bad matchup is Cooler, and running the data in all of our testing, Cooler is just a very okay deck. It feels like a low tier 2 deck at best. It doesn't perform well against Surge Coup, against Piccolo, against Invoker, and all this other stuff. So its only bad matchup is a deck that should get weeded out within the first 2 to 3 rounds for the most part. So that already is a big, huge plus to it. The only other like deck that I mean, in my opinion, I would have considered going with is Invoker because it also doesn't seem to have too many bad matchups. But I think Jiren probably does have the best matchup spread and favors something or somebody like Jose and his playstyle.
To build on that, so I actually think the matchup that is actually completely unwinnable for Jiren is not Cooler. It's actually Red Green Broly Surge. That matchup is unwinnable because they can draw on both turns, and now the deck got stronger with the addition of the Nappa super combo, so they get value on both turns when they're going defensively, and we have to go in swing with our leader. So they have so many answers to remove our board, ignoring barrier, and in order for us to be on our Awakened side, they can go into the Secret Rare and burn us 2 and put into Double Strike. They removed our board, and now we're susceptible. So we're going to die. So I think Cooler is a bad matchup. I don't think it's the worst matchup that's not the matchup I'm referring to. Cooler is viable, and actually Frisco had the experience to play it twice, and he was able to beat it. So I think in that order, there will be 2 bad matchups. The one that is unwinnable is the Red Green Broly Surge with the upgrade of the new cards, all set 9, and championship packs. And then the second would be any deck that is relying on going into Frieza. If we cannot get rid of that Frieza, it's going to be a problem. So that's what we got.
That's actually pretty interesting to talk about. So the matchup spread you're speaking of, like if those are like, let's say you're weak to Frieza 100% Overdrive, and you're weak to Surge Broly, like that feels like a pretty good spot to be in heading into a tournament, don't you think?
Absolutely, and that's what I meant. Like that's why it was in such a good position for this weekend, because these decks were not the popular pick. You know, these decks felt like the jungle. You know, doesn't mean that they were not good decks, right? Because there was some folks that are very competitive that were on selections of variations of Surge Q doing the Frieza swap engine into the 5-drop. You know, and that deck was really good. I don't know how it performed over the weekend, to be honest. I don't remember. But yeah, so the strategy focus around the 5-drop Frieza, the 100% Frieza, and Broly Surge were our worst matchups, but where the Broly Surge is the worst matchup that we feel helpless because we need to establish a board of weenies to have our ability, and they can burn us 2 any minute. So we have to stay at 4 every time, and it's only a matter of time until they draw their Secret Rare, burn us 2, go for game. Also, if we keep only one character on board that has barrier, the leader can pop it. So they can also pop any 2 creatures on any other turns to either go for lethal or just take away our invincibility. So it feels like the same case of the yellow baby going against red green Surge, where just the Secret Rare beats you. So
yeah,
which is literally like the weakness of the Jiren deck, right? It's a direct burn damage. That's the only thing that he is susceptible to.
Yep.
Okay. So speaking of matchups, which you were just doing, how are your matches across the course of the weekend? Because I mean, you played the deck on both Friday and Saturday, and I think throughout the entire 2 tournaments, you only had like 2 actual match losses.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly.
So tell me a little bit about your matches that you faced and how those matchups like felt on your end.
Yes. So all of the fair decks. So I'm gonna summarize fair decks, competitive decks, and then the unfair decks. So fair decks like Android 13, fair decks like Hatchak, they felt very I was overpowering them, right? So I can go explosive. I go so tall that they cannot compete with that. So I have so much removal in the deck that their stuff doesn't stick because they don't have barrier. Like Hatchak has to stay with a bunch of blockers, and I have so much removal that they cannot keep up. The apes being on the deck also help you tap more blockers as well. So yeah, it doesn't work for them at all. Another third deck, which is people still think Janemba is a thing. Janemba is not a thing in this format. So I was playing our friend Blake, and he was very convinced that he was gonna have a good time against Jiren.
Oh
And
no.
the match lasted. We played for fun only because we actually were supposed to play on the last round on ToP until they called that it was going to be 7 rounds instead. And then we had like that thorn that we wanted to like let's just play it, let's just play it, let's just find out. And and he wasn't having a good time. So I had too many swings per turn. And then other decks like under 13 decks like other versions of Cell, they felt like really underwhelming against Jiren. Mid-tier decks like Cooler, we mentioned, if they're focusing on the 5-draw Frieza, if that 4-draw Frieza gets a stick, so it can be a problem. Then another tier 2 deck is the red-green Broly Search, which my good friend and enemy, rival forever, Michael Friend, always plays that. I think he's the best Broly Search player out there. He destroyed me. So it was not even close. I couldn't do anything. Even he bricked. He didn't see the extra card to be able to summon the Broly, and I still couldn't do anything. He didn't rival the Broly the whole game, and I still couldn't beat him. So
Yeah.
it's just a pure bad matchup. Yeah. Now in the spread, high tier, the best decks on the format. So the Search Goo, the Piccolos, the Invokers of the world, right? And the mirror match as well. So it felt really, really good. Jiren felt really well positioned. Like, I never sat down in front of an Invoker and say, well, I lose. And like, not at all. I felt in control of the match all the time. Because one thing that I've learned testing with the 3xG family is that I've learned how to adjust and when to know when to push on the pedal and when to be just control and just manage resources, which it's what the Jiren deck allows you to do. You can go fast when you need to, and you can step back and relax and extend the game as much as possible. One of those examples is when you're fighting against the new Team Gohan leader, that it just wants to do everything with the leader, right? And create you until the end. It's like, okay, I get my buddies on board. I put a little bit of pressure. We delay the game. I start dropping bombs. They cannot. I just tank the game and I win. Or when I go against Invoker, I just become the sword. I just want to run you over, and they cannot take the pressure. They need to start spending their battle cards early to combo out of attacks. I must admit, the hand destruction Piccolo, the blue-green, it took a little bit of effort, just because Jiren has an early low curve on hand. So if they see all their Cell Kamehamehas and the special beam cannon early, it could be dangerous. It's still very winnable, but it depends on the skill of the other player as well. So they need to know that they still have to swing at things that are tapped using their extra cards to make me pitch, but people were not doing that. So people were very, very passive. So Search Goo, it felt really good. So it was a matter of only playing smart, keeping my board and keeping my the 2-drop Castral on board, because what they're gonna do, they're gonna negate your board to try to get rid of your invincibility. But then if you keep the Castral is gonna bring you another Universe 11, so you're safe. I played 2 versions. The version from Brand Samuel that you guys saw me lose to on stream, and that matchup actually was not feeling bad. It just, I think he had all the answers at the right timing, and then and I'm not taking away from his talent. He's a great player, but conveniently he also had all the tools, all the answers, and he played on the right sequencing and whatnot. Now, the other search schools that I saw that were playing value, um, they were easy to take over. So I had no issues with that. Um, the the tricolor piccolo that goes into the 19, the Super 17 to crit you out. It didn't feel like an issue at all. Because their main out is the Broly, the all out assault, which I would always bait it. I would bait them to go that and tap my leader. So then I would go into Belmont, pop it. So now they lost like a bunch of resources, and now I gained 2 more swings. I will go into Belmont, kill your Broly, go into the Frieza also surprise attack, and now I generate more advantage on the board. And then that would give me successor 8. So now I can go into the Gohan and put more pressure. So basically, the face of when I was doing that, I was like, oh crap! So I kill myself right now. It's like this was a big mistake, So yeah, and Invoker, you just put pressure early on game 2. So on game 2, we side answers for the Vegeta, answers for the ToP arena, and answers for the Victory Strike, meaning the Goku on close quarters for popping anything with barrier 3 or less. Piccolo arena record for the ToP arena, and then Crusher Ball for the Victory Strike because they cannot deal with Victory Strike. And also, our leader has already invincibility to Victory Strike if you do your ability on my turn. So, yeah, feels really well positioned. Now, nobody was playing Pat's Invoker list. That could be a different story. Because they focus on burning you directly. That would be a really bad matchup for a Jiren, because if you focus on delaying the game with Topos and then go into Invoker, into the Goku to burn you out, to burn you for life, you only need 2 spells, GG. So, yeah, that's what I learned about the matchups in general. And it was very fascinating because I had not played the deck before the weekend. As you guys know, I tend to do that pretty often. It happens to
I don't
work.
know why. You and I are like polar opposites, man. I can't do that. I have to get everything perfect.
No, Jose's a savage. Jose just picks it up the day before, and then it's almost like he feels like he's playing with house money, and then he just like learns the deck over the tournament, and then just ends up becoming the best player with the deck at the same time.
Yeah, it's kind of scary, honestly.
But yeah, overall, it felt like Jiren. Every time I kept playing, our list, man. Every time I played it, I felt like, holy moly, there's a new line that I can do with this.
Exactly.
And I would feel like I played perfect. I would win up 2-0 in 10 minutes, and then Frisco would come behind me. It's like, oh, kid, good work. But I've been playing this like 3 weeks, and you missed this line and this line and this line. Like, I'm like, crap. I suck. Okay, so let's try next game.
Is there anything you would change? Like you were talking about that in the deck. Is there anything you'd change in the deck out of curiosity?
So I think there's some fine tuning that we need to do now with them, because now we're gonna go into a far more designed meta, right? So now we were on a list that was overall strong. Now I think we need to start adjusting ratios and teching for what we think the new meta is gonna be. I think it was impossible to predict what the meta was going to be, yet you guys still did it. you guys still crazy what the meta was going to be. But like I can see, like from the eyes of the community, it was really hard to tell. Like, right, nobody could have predicted that in the original Eggman was going to be undefeated with just a ruling, right? It would sell. So
surprisingly, he didn't actually use it that much.
No,
that's for another time.
Yeah. So yeah, and then the other thing I wanted to cover a little bit was the mirror match. How skill intensive the mirror match is when you're playing the same list. So Caleb from the team, from Sharon Slayer, was also playing the deck.
It's like a 65 card mirror.
Exactly, 65 mirror, and it's so skill intensive because you know exactly what their lines are gonna be, or potential lines, because clearly I didn't know all the lines of the deck. I was still learning. But it was fascinating how I had to adjust to, okay, this is the moment where I become the sword. This is the moment where I become the shield. So many times. The game one, it became about okay. I won I lost the dice roll, so I'm gonna be the sword. And depending how he reacts, is how I'm gonna play the game. And depending how I drew. So he had low hand. I drew the secret rare, so I play control. I'm just gonna depleting all resources, put into 4, go into secret rare, win. On game 2, I was going. I went second again. He actually drew better than me, so I'm like, okay, so I'm just gonna delay the game. I'm gonna pop everything that he brings. So yeah, it was fascinating. It was fascinating, and also it was really funny that I actually went for game on game 2, and I only won with 25K. We both had these gigantic hands of 10 cards each, and they're all 10Ks for both of us. So we both bricked at the end of going for game on game 2. So it was hilarious, but exactly. Yeah. So, but to answer your question, Pat, I think one of the main things that I want to fit is an additional cooler. Cooler is so strong on turn 3 because you can go into secret rare turn 3 or into Gohan turn 3. Actually, you can go into Gohan on turn 3. But if you have cooler activated and you go into the secret rare on turn 3, you can win the game right there, which I did at least 4 times in the regional, like 3 times in the TOP. Crazy.
Yeah, the deck just
Secret rare itself, by the way.
the deck just generates 0 to 12 energy worth of battle cards on the board. Like it's nothing. Like it's really easy to get there, and that's where like the different lines of plays you're talking about like really work out, and that's how you see like how good the deck is honestly when you start playing it. But one of the things that's like really funny is like playing the deck. It's like the moment your opponent plays a battle card, you're legit just like, boy, because you know you're gonna go like you know you're gonna go Belmont into surprise attack, and then like you're
Exactly. You go from 4 cost on board, you go into 9. It's insane.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's really gross. So with my next question that I have for you, what was the most busted turn you had the entire
Oh
time?
my goodness! I think that was against Tim. So Tim was playing a Jiren version, completely different from what we were running. He was trying to play more green, yellow good cards. Playing like Champion Trickster, like a very controlled version. It's Tim's style. Like he's been like the best pan player for a long time, right? So he's been it's mid range control. I'm just gonna counter what you're doing, blah blah blah. So man, this one turn, I think it was turn 4. I was unawakened, so I would go. I had I focused on building a board to have enough successor as early as possible. So I had like 2 or 3 topos of the promos. I had like an ape on board. I had and some weenies. Can't remember exactly, but it was so busted because I was swing with the ape to make him go into Broly. So I was baiting him to go into tap my leader. I swung. He did that. He combo out. Then that same turn, I keep putting pressure. He plays another Broly to pop one of my topos. Then I go into Belmont to pop his Brolys, and I bring the Frieza. I swim with the Frieza. So I basically generated like 7 attacks before going to the secret rare. And
That sounds brutal.
And Frisco was watching behind me. He's like, "Oh, by the way, you missed an additional 3 more swings because you could have gone into Gohan, swing twice, and then go into the secret rare." So even Tim at the end of the game, he told me, "I don't know what happened. Like your deck flows like like water, like it feels so smooth. I feel like I couldn't do anything. Like I played 4 apes and he played 4 Brolys. That's how crazy the match was, you know. And I kept going into. I played like 2 Belmonts at one point in the same turn, and it was ridiculous. That was the most busted thing I think I could have done. But then again, Frisco made me sure that I didn't feel too good about it because I there was so much more potential for the energy that I had, because all these thing I did it with still keeping 2 energy open or something like that. So
that sounds absolutely disgusting.
yeah. So because his point was like, you could have done either this and you activate the Secret Rare having Cooler active, or you just go into Gohan and generate like 35k attacks again that are triple strike. So he forces him to do the life to get invisibility or blah blah blah. So it was fantastic. It was great. Yeah, I think that's the most busted turn. Aside from going turn 3 Gohan or turn 3 Secret Rare with Cooler active. I think that's the most broken thing that you can do.
Definitely sounds pretty degenerate. So Pat, question for you.
Yeah.
Since you've had a chance to like play against this deck, see this deck in action, see Jose pilot it, what is something that you think people don't pick up on at first glance when they look over the deck itself?
How good Dispo is. I can't tell you how many people like Dispo. I think was like a $2 super rare for like a while. I don't know what he's at now at the time of recording, but like he's so ridiculously good in this deck. So like you get to swing with Jiren, play the promo topo, swing with the promo topo, sack the promo topo for Dispo, swing with the Dispo. And this is all turn 1. And then turn 2, you just get to swing with the Dispo, and you get to, successor the Dispo into another Dispo and draw 2 cards and swing with the Dispo, and then swing with the leader, and then drop a casserole, and then get Kunchi, and then sack both of them again for more successors, and you're just like, look, I get to draw another card off Dispo.
Yeah.
Like, Dispo is so absurd. He just draws so many cards and gets so much value. It's honestly insane that he is one of the cheaper SRs in the set.
Yeah, the deck literally, when I went into that line of play, it literally felt like if I was like fighting, if I was like a Dragon Ball character fighting, he's like, I'm fighting, boom, boom, boom. That's like, okay, Kaioken, boom, boom, keep fighting. So I get a new line of play. Then the same turn I go, okay, Super Saiyan. So now Belmont, and bring all these more attackers. Boom, boom, then Successor 8. Boom, let's keep going. It's like no end. It's like I fell in love with this deck on round 1. It's like, holy moly, where have you been my whole life? Because there was a hole in my heart because I had to hang down Mr. Baby, but Jiren is fulfilling that hole. He's filling that hole for me.
I'm glad
that sounded very dirty.
I'm glad that Jiren fills your holes. Luckily, he is the thickest boy.
He's thick.
He's
really thick.
Question for you, Jose. If you had to give someone one piece of advice if they were picking this deck up tomorrow, what would it be?
Yes. Make sure that you do shadow play with it, because there are so many lines. Make sure you read every single card. All the cards have a lot of text. And there's so many lines. You can respond to anything with this. You have removal with barrier, removal without barrier. You have free play. You can increase your successor cost. You can do mind games for people and bait them into go for game and kill them on the crackback. Is make sure that you go with a mentality that you want to learn, and you're gonna mess up because the deck is a complicated deck to play. It's a lot of 10Ks. You need to know when you need to bite the bullet and charge with exhaust. Otherwise, you're gonna break yourself. So it's a high level cap, high mastery cap deck, which is one of the things what is driving me insane about it, keeping me super pumped about playing again. I normally don't play a deck more than one event because I get bored real quickly. I still don't think I figured out every single possible line with Jiren. And I was actually today, before the interview, I was actually doing some shadow playing by myself. And I discovered far more lines. So like, holy moly, I can still do more passive-aggressive lines that I can kill you on turn 3.
Yeah, it's really funny you said that, because it's like I do the same thing where it's like I shadow play by like randomly just picking up the deck of cards and just like running through the lines of play. And Jiren is like the best deck to do that with, because it's like you can look at it from like this scope of all your resources that are in your drop area.
Exactly.
What's on the board, what's in your hand, what has your opponent played, or just hypotheticals. And then it's like, I sent everyone in the the 3XG chat that we have for our patrons, and I was playing the budget version of the deck, and it was like I had turn 2 secret rare. Like I found the line, and it was like like finding turn 2 secret rare is like pretty absurd, but it's like the deck just goes from 0 to generating lethal damage. Like
if you literally only need 4 cards in your hand to make the secret rare happen. You need the promo topo, you need your Giro super combo, you need Ribrianne, 1 green energy, and the secret rare, and that's it. Right? So you can do so many things. I think there was something else that you could build. I think you need 2 Ribrianne actually. Sorry, 2 green energy. That's what you need. Sorry, that's how I did. That's how I did it today in Shadow Play. So it's really high ceiling, man. It's but that would be my thing. Is that just if you're really interested in playing Jiren, make sure you get the reps. It's not an easy deck. It's really easy to brick. Your mulligan is so important, and it changes by matchup. I didn't mulligan the same way that I did for Invoker. I didn't mulligan the same way that I did that for Piccolo. Or I was always looking different things, different answers all the time.
What you're saying is deck mastery is important, which is a lesson I've been trying to teach for a long time.
and in fact, that's what keeps me interested in playing the deck. I feel like I'm getting better just by playing this deck because I need to think more, and that will be my recommendation. If you really and like I always do in the articles, like when I decide to write an article about something, it's because I think this is a type of deck that will improve your abilities as a player and level up, And I think Jiren is one of those decks that is not only gonna be a competitive deck, but it will also raise your level. It will show you about value of cards. It will teach you about resource management, because if you can go just take the wheel and you go for a game and then you'll have no hand. That happened to me as well.
Jesus, take the wheel, bro.
So and I got really good feedback from my opponents, including Justin Rios. Justin Rios was one of them. It's like, holy crap, when we're exchanging deck lists on our top cut match, like, holy moly, how did I oversee this? Jiren is my favorite character. Why didn't I see this? And I don't see a world where I can beat you. This is crazy. And he mentioned that he potentially would consider switching back to it in the future or something. But I think he was being polite, to be honest. He's a nice guy. But yeah, like that made me think, like, man, this is a deck that has so much potential. And I still think there's some fine tuning to do. And if we crack it, we'll share it, because that's what we like doing. So we're not keeping secrets for anybody. So,
sure. All right, and then I just want to wrap it up because we went a little bit longer than I expected. Last question. I need answers from both of you, and it's the question that everyone cares about more than anything, because people in this game only care about decks that are tier 1. Is this deck tier 1?
Absolutely.
Yes. Not close.
Huh. Absolutely. And
yeah,
the reason it's a tier 1 in my book. So for me, what defines a deck tier 1 is competition and meta. Meaning matchup spread. So for me, in my book, it has to have a maximum of 2 bad matchups. Otherwise, I don't think it's a tier 1. Second, that the deck can adapt. The deck can both play control or play mid range, or just Jesus take the wheel, go super fast. And third, I feel like I'm learning every time I play it. Makes me a better player. That's why I think it's a tier 1. Those 3. These are my 3 reasons of why I think it's a tier 1 deck.
Yeah, it does. For me, my criteria for what makes tier 1 is how good is the matchup spread across the board amongst all of the stuff you expect to see at a competitive level. And Jiren only really has 1 or 2 bad matchups, like Jose said. And then the other thing is it has to do something uniquely powerful that only it can do, or be amongst the best at what it does. And I think Jiren is by far the best successor leader. Not close.
I agree. It's a higher ceiling.
It's the highest ceiling successor deck. That means that he is doing something that is uniquely powerful. So, yeah.
And you could even cite into the strengthening silent Jiren as well.
Like
So.
the leader has to say, like when I say like, what do you do that other leaders don't do? Jiren says, well, I cheat guys out for free for successor. And it's like, well, okay, who else in the conversation can do that? And it's like, chilled.
I know. Oh, by the way, thank you for bringing that up, Pat, because that's something I meant to mention. Actually, in one of my games against Piccolo, we went into time. I had one turn one, and I had one game one, and game two we went into turns. He had me at 4 life. He couldn't get rid of my board, and guess what? We went to turns. I gained invincibility. He couldn't kill me, and he had a secret rare cell on board for the last 3 turns. He couldn't do anything. I'm like, well, okay, you don't kill my board. I don't do anything to you. I don't need to attack. I just need to stall 3 turns, and I win. So that's what I meant about versatility of the deck. It's amazing.
Cool. Well, I just want to thank both you fine gentlemen for taking the time to talk with me about, of course, what you guys know is my absolute favorite character, the thickest character in the game, and then also a deck I am very passionate about. So I appreciate you taking the time. And of course, Jose, congrats on your finishes. Expect nothing less from you. And then Pat, thank you so much for providing us with the best commentary that this game has ever seen.
You guys are too nice to me.
I'm broken.
And so, Jose, I need you to hit us with the ending. I need you to hit us with the K-bye.
Okay. Bye.